for education about asexuality, all things asexual. So subscribe and hit the bell icon right now. So this particular video is all about how to heal from a ex that inflicted pain onto you because they weren't healed from past relationship trauma themselves. So in other words, they've inflicted trauma specifically on you during a relationship that you had with them because they hadn't healed from past relationship trauma themselves. Now, how do you deal with that trauma? Because you're feeling traumatized right now, correct? If you've gone through this. So this stems from a question I was asked on this channel by one of my viewers. So I'm going to go to the comment section now so you can see where I'm getting this from. So hello Violet. Violet follows me on here and also on Instagram. So in Violet's comments, they said he knew about my abandonment issues and his excuse for being abusive was he was healing from his ex. My feeling is, if you are still healing, don't even bother showing me love and keep your feelings to yourself. Unfortunately, I walked out with trauma and I just want to heal. I know I can, but it's so hard. Happy New Year and thanks for being a safe space for ace, arrow and agender folk. So yes, so I replied to them and I said that I'm sending you so much community love and hugs right now. I'm glad you left him, even though I know how incredibly painful it must have been for you, and there is never any excuse for abuse. I totally agree with you. If he's still getting over his ex, he should not have got involved with you and showed you any type of feelings. He should have left you alone in peace. I can imagine how hard it must have been. It was heart-wrenching, painful to have gone through my short-term relationship and breakup this year with an Indian guy who ended up being bad for me and not the person he first portrayed he was. I've been working a lot on healing myself this year just to get my confidence and self-esteem back. After joining Matthew Hussey's Love Life Club program, though that helped me a lot. I'm so grateful to be in it. His courses and coaching are amazing, not to mention Matthew AI. So I thank them for, thinking this is a safe space, which it is. And so there was a further question, and it's like, do you have any advice for healing from the trauma he put on me? Hello to everyone in chat, by the way. Thanks for joining. So I want to answer this question in this video, but I'm going to answer it in a how-to style, right? So this is the full version in a live stream of how to heal from the trauma that a past ex has inflicted on you, causing you trauma. So let's take this step by step. First of all, like I said in that response, there is no excuse for abuse. If someone is abusing you, it doesn't matter what the reason they have for abusing you is, there is no reason to abuse you. Abuse is not to be tolerated, and you should walk away if you're being abused in any relationship, right? So it's really important that you get the help you need for that. I'm a coach and mentor. I'm not an actual medical practitioner and I'm not a therapist. So this advice I'm about to give you is not medical advice. It's not therapeutic advice. It's advice from my own personal experience. Do with the advice what you will. Take it or leave it. Take some parts, leave other parts, whatever you want. So I'm not a medical practitioner. I have to put that disclaimer in, and I'm not a therapist or psychotherapist. I have got basic counselling skills certification, and I've also got life coaching skill certification, but I'm not an actual registered counsellor. I haven't done the full course for that. I've only got some basic skills, right? And I've got an information advice and guidance diploma, which is equivalent to just undergraduate degree level. So that's where I'm coming from. I also have a background in working for NHS mental health. So that is actually teaching people how to use social media to improve their mental health, believe it or not. So that's where I'm coming from. And from all the years of experience I've had of online dating, I've had 10 years experience of this. So this is my personal opinion and experience and knowledge, if you like. So first of all, like I said, the abuse, there is no excuse for. And in life, we have choices to make, right? There's a saying that goes around a lot on the internet, and that saying is, hurt people, right? But this is not true of everyone. Some people who get hurt in relationships choose not to inflict that pain onto the next relationship, whilst others choose to inflict the pain they've had onto other people. That is a choice and a decision they made, right? So if they are abusing you, they know full well what they are doing, right? And there is no excuse for it, especially if they've actually said to you, in this case with Violet, oh, I'm basically abusing you because of my ex. I'm not healed from that, right? There's no excuse for abuse. Okay, you can't have a successful, healthy, happy, loving relationship when it's abusive. Violet has actually left their ex, but it's caused them some deep trauma. And this is the thing, that the trauma cycles that we go through in relationships are very difficult to navigate, because we have a lot of trauma. Every one of us in the world usually has some sort of trauma in their life. And it can be to do with all different types of relationships, not just romantic relationships. It can be to do with friendships, work colleagues, family members, relations, distant relations. And of course, it can be romantic and sexual relationships. So we have to take into account the fact that there's loads of different relationships playing out in our lives. And this can add layer and layers of trauma to our mental programming. So if we have trauma, for example, at school, maybe we were bullied at school, then we go to secondary school, we have our first love who breaks our heart. And then we go to being, for example, in university, we meet someone, we think they're the love of our life. And then they say, hang on a minute, yeah, I can't do this. I'm leaving now. For whatever reason, could be that they don't want to stay in that country. They want to pursue their career somewhere else. Or it could be they've met someone else, right? It could be for a number of reasons, but maybe you thought you were going to spend the rest of your life with that person, but they decide to leave your life. And then you go through other adult traumas. Maybe it's with family, maybe it's with friend betraying you, right? All these add to the layers of complexity when you're dealing with relationships in your life, and they add to the relationship trauma that you're experiencing. And the difficulty is we can take this trauma from relationship to relationship. So we have to hold ourselves back from getting into a relationship too quickly with someone else when we're still healing from someone who causes deep trauma and emotional wounds. First of all, we need to recognize that their trauma is not our baggage to deal with. That's their baggage, if you like to deal with. That's their troubles. That's their problems. If they have inflicted trauma on us because they have not got over a past ex, being let down by a past ex, being cheated on by a past ex, being betrayed or deceived, if they haven't got over that, that is their issue to deal with. They should not be putting all that past relationship stuff onto you. Similarly, it's best if you try to heal yourself as much as possible before going to another relationship. This means you need to focus on being single and growing your confidence back in yourself before thinking about getting into a relationship or dating scenario with someone else. Because when you feel a deep sense of trauma from your past ex, this can feel like a knife stabbing you through the heart and chopping your body into multiple little pieces. It can be absolutely earth-shattering and have a damaging effect both on your physiological makeup, your mental health, the way you interact with people, your social skills. This can affect a huge amount of things because you don't trust people after this. You at least don't trust some people, right? So you need to start trusting yourself first, because a lot of the time when we get with someone who's put a lot of trauma on us because they are literally using us to numb the pain of an ex, if you like. But instead of it numbing the pain of an ex, they're treating us badly because of the way the ex treated them. So in a way, it's like them getting justice instead of working through their trauma that they've experienced. I think it's very disgusting when someone who's been really hurt and deceived and betrayed by someone in their past then comes to a new relationship and decides to do the same or similar to you. Right? This is not on. This is such bad behavior. But even when I was in a relationship this year for a short amount of time, in the beginning, you know, when there's red flags and you ignore the red flags, he was talking about his ex, and he was talking how his ex wasn't being honest with him, and he went through some of the stuff with his ex, right? And the way he was going through stuff with the ex, it felt to me like he wasn't fully over his ex. But she caused a lot of upset and pain in his life. And one of the things I felt was very obvious he wasn't over is when he didn't want to really say to his mum about me, because he said, oh, my mum's worried about me because of the past relationship I was in that didn't work out. So I don't want to tell her about you yet. Right? And so that means he's using a past relationship when he was in a relationship with me to work out how to navigate the relationship between me and him. But I'm not that ex, and I never was going to be that ex, right? But he hurt me really badly in the end, yet she hurt him. And this is what makes it really difficult, because when someone's had a past ex and they come to you in the beginning of a possible relationship, you kind of want to comfort them. You want to like take some solidarity in the fact that maybe you've experienced something similar before, or betrayal or a relationship breakdown, and you feel sorry for them, and you feel like, how could that person do that to them? And that's so horrible. And maybe they're not fully healed yet, but maybe, you know, they just are open to love again, but maybe they're not fully over it. Do they have to be fully over it to be in a relationship with you? But the fact of the matter is, if they are still harboring a grudge against a previous person in their life, then they're probably going to take that out on you when they shouldn't be doing. I think it's disgusting that they don't stop the cycle of trauma. They don't see that their past ex was really bad, so they should not be like that to a future person. They should be the opposite of that, to make sure they are not being like that type of person that hurt them. But instead of doing that, they use all that kind of anger and upset and insecurity and pain, and they kind of use it against you in the relationship, or at least that's the way it feels. They use it to like fuel the way they direct the relationship and the way they are in the attitude towards you. But there are some people that break this cycle. There are some people that say, no, enough is enough. I do not want to be treated like that person treated me. I want to make sure that I've got my shit together before I get into a new relationship, so that I'm not treating a person badly like I was treated. Of course, some people could overcompensate, and then they can become a doormat for someone in the future. That is something that's not much talked about, but that can actually happen on occasion, that they can overcompensate. So Darina says their mothers usually say them who's bad. don't quite understand that, Davina. You might want to say a bit more about that. But yeah, a lot of mothers actually think their sons, for example, are great when they're not. I don't know if that's what you meant, but that's actually true. I come across a lot of mothers, and especially if the guy's a mummy's boy. It could be any ex, right? This is not. I only have experience of breaking up with guys because I've only ever had relationships with guys, right? But you can take these principles and apply them to absolutely, excuse me, any gender you like. Because, you know, this is not to do with gender, but because I used to guys, excuse me, who are like mummy's boys a lot of the time. The mother can make out their son is so amazing, and the sun shines out of his backside, basically, when really he's not. He could be abusive, right? But because his mother acts more like a girlfriend towards him, really, than a mother, she can very much favour her son. So everything is seen as in a good light with her son. She puts her son on a pedestal, in other words, right? Probably because she feels she can have control and power over him that way by boosting his ego up all the time, right? Instead of having a balanced mum that knows her son's not perfect, right? We're going off track a little bit now. So when you've got a scenario where you've been inflicted trauma because they haven't healed from a past relationship, like I said, you need to understand that their baggage, their past, is not your problems to bear, right? You obviously, when you come into a relationship together, then kind of each other's problems becomes the other person's problems in essential together in a relationship. But they should have worked through their trauma as much as possible to minimize the disruption to the relationship you are going to and do have with them. They shouldn't be bringing all that past issues into the current relationship, because it means that they haven't dealt with the past issues. They haven't learned from that, and they haven't worked through that. So they're just going to be usually an unhealthy person for you to be in a relationship with. So knowing that the problems from their past relationship is not your problems to bear, it's not your burdens to bear, what can you do other than realize that their problems are their problems? It's not your fault of the way their ex treated them, and it's no excuse for them to treat you badly. In fact, if they have had problems with the past ex and the past ex has betrayed, lied, or deceived them, it's actually more reason for them to be kind and good to you, knowing what that type of behavior feels like. The betrayal, the hurt, the pain, the horrible trauma that their ex inflicted on them. It should be their duty to ensure that it doesn't inflict on the next person they're in a relationship with, because they shouldn't want that person to go through what they went through. Unfortunately, that's not the way the mentality works of a lot of people. And instead, it's more of anger and pent-up frustration emotions because they have not let that out and dealt with it efficiently. Right? So let's talk through the steps. So you've just broken up with someone, maybe you loved them very much, and you had to let them go because the relationship is so unhealthy, it's causing you physical, mental pain, it's so difficult, or maybe they actually walked out on you. Whatever happened, right? You knew that they hadn't got over their ex, because this is what we're talking about in this specific video, and they are causing you or cause you trauma because they came into your life, they like swept you off your feet, made out that, you know, the relationship was going somewhere, then all of a sudden they bring up stuff to do with the ex, or all of a sudden their behavior starts changing. Then you realize that they've had all these previous past issues in relationships, and now they're bringing all this up to you, and you're like, what the hell happened? I thought we were getting on well, I thought we were going really good, I thought this person really loved me, this person said all these kind, caring things to me. Unfortunately, a lot of people, when they first get into a relationship and it's all new and exciting, they kind of in like a honeymoon phase where everything is like out of a romantic movie. It's like a romanticized thing, right? And instead of them being able to facilitate the reality of a real relationship, they want to dive into the fantasy of the initial excitement and bursts of energy and enthusiasm when they first meet someone. and then their character comes out. It could be a very short period of time, or it could take a while to come out. Their true nature comes out when the mundane and the more mediocre parts of a relationship, the real relationship stuff, starts taking effect. And then they kind of give up, because that's not what they were really after. They were after not longevity, they were after the thrill and excitement of the beginnings of that relationship. And when the relationship got serious, because they made out they were serious about you, that's when they start to back off, go cold, or start to display really bad behavior, usually, right? Which is not your fault. They were in for the fantasy, not the reality. And they're not able to sustain a serious, committed, long-term relationship because they're not a healthy person to do that with. The only way they sustain that is if the person was codependent on them, if the person was controlled by them, if the person was accepting abuse, which you should not do. So the fact that if you've got away from this person, which you should have by now, if you haven't, please leave. If you've got away from this person, then you actually have done yourself the most beautiful thing in the world. And that is relieving yourself of someone that would provide mental and even maybe physical, emotional trauma to you for the rest of your life. So we have to know that, yes, this trauma might be carried through our lives to a certain extent, but we can diminish the effects that it's had on us and going to have on us in the future. How do we do that? We have to make them far less important to us, and the trauma we experience less impactful than the present moment. So if you've just split up with someone, this is going to be really hard to do. For the first month of a serious heartache and heartbreak, you're going to be, if you really love the person, in like a zombie state. This is where, even if you are trying to get out of bed, it can be such an effort, right? To get in the shower and wash your hair can be an effort. Everything can seem like a chore and an effort, and the whole world and universe can seem like it's towering down around you. And maybe you just want to give up, right? Don't give up, right? But the whole first month, when you are really in the thick of grieving, and that's what you have to treat it like, as a grieving process, it can be so painful and so difficult and challenging. So what we have to do is we have to employ and deploy a caring and compassionate attitude towards ourselves. We have to understand that the behavior of the past person is not our fault, so we can unhook the emotional connection to them from us to them. Because when we are blaming ourselves, when we are thinking we're at fault, when we are thinking of all these things, this still maintains a connection to that person, which is really hard to break. Because when you're blaming yourself, or when you're thinking, oh, I should have stayed with them, if you're thinking that, I'm glad you're not thinking that if it was an abusive relationship, but if you were thinking about that, it keeps the connection going, and you might feel connected to this person for some time, but there are ways of being disconnected to this person, right? So first of all, you have to understand that you must treat it like a grieving process, because it's a loss. Where that person was nice, where that person was nasty or horrible, if you love a person, right, you feel deeply for them, regardless of whether they're abusive and nasty and horrible to you or not. You love them, right? Because the way they behave doesn't stop necessarily how you feel about them. Although ideally it should, because if someone's abusing you, you'd be like, well, that's not nice behavior. I'm not attracted to that. I'm not excited about someone who abused me. I'm not excited about someone who talks about their ex. I'm not interested in someone like that. So over the process of the next coming months, we need to get unexcited about people that have past relationships that they're bringing to the current relationship. So instead of feeling sorry for the person next time we meet someone, we need to see actually the situation for what it was with the ex. So we need to take time to get to know people better in the future, to unravel how things were with past exes, because the history of how they were with the ex can be very telling about how they're going to treat you. It doesn't mean to say they're going to treat you badly, but if they've got behavioral patterns where they always end up in a certain frame of mind about a person that they're in a relationship with, they're probably going to have that about you. If they've been like frivolously jumping into a relationship with someone previously, then if they're trying to jump into a relationship quickly with you and their previous relationship ended up in disaster when they did that, it's probably going to happen with you as well. So when you break up with someone, or they've broken up with you and they've given you an immense amount of trauma, and maybe they were narcissistic, abusive, gaslighting you, making you feel small, belittling you, all this is really, really impactful for your mind, and it can create a very, very negative effect that kind of like pierces your self-esteem and self-confidence, and it escapes somehow, right? It's like, where's my self-confidence and self-esteem gone? So first we have to realize, like I said, that we're grieving. So you have to go through the grieving process. You have to like go through the emotions like, oh, I still love him or her or whatever it is. Even though we're split up, you might even still want to be with them in some way. You might miss them, and you're going to cry. So you need to make sure you're crying, make sure that you understand it's a loss that you're grieving for, regardless of how they treat you. You've lost that person, you had hopes and dreams with that person, and they were lost as well. They probably made you promises like, oh, I'm going to take you here, I'm going to do this with you, I'm going to do that with you. And you feel let down and you feel hurt. And so you've got to acknowledge all these feelings and work through them. So people that pent up emotions and that don't work through negative emotions, they are the ones that are more likely to inflict trauma on someone else in the future, because they've got all their trauma built up inside of them that eventually explodes or comes out in other ways, in communication, in misunderstandings, in attitudes, in anger, right? So make sure you're not going to be like that. Make sure you cry a lot. Just do whatever you can to get through the grief and the reality of the feelings hitting you hard, right? You might feel like giving up in life. You might feel like, I don't even want to get out of bed. I don't want to do anything. You might scroll through Netflix endlessly. But sometimes for that first month, you've just got to give yourself so much compassion and grace and say, do you know what? Just for me to get up this morning and have a shower is a good, successful day. So we have to think of the bar low in terms of what we need to do to self-love and show ourselves self-compassion when we've just split up with someone who's caused us so much trauma. What I mean by this is, like, it shouldn't take much for you to praise yourself and make yourself happy in those moments. So when we go about our daily life, when we are in the right frame of mind and we're not humongously traumatized, what that means is that we will go through our day, we'll get up, have a shower, put some appropriate clothing on, go to work or whatever, go on a day trip, go to family, go to friends, chill out, be happy, watch comedy, whatever we want to do, right? And just taking a shower, putting the rubbish out, or whatever, cooking ourselves a nice meal. This will just be all normal stuff we'll do every day. But when you're going through trauma, it's kind of affects your whole body and physiologically affects you as well. So you kind of like can't do as much. It zaps your energy and it makes you feel really shattered. And it's like you've been run over by a bus or mangled, right? So you have to work through that every day and say, look, to get through another day, that's my aim, is just to get through another day, another minute, another time, and to just do the best I can, right? And get up and make some nice foods for yourself, because food really affects your moods. So it's important, even if you don't feel like cooking, that you try and get some nutrition into your body. I don't want you to think of food so much as, oh, that's just food. I want you to think of nutrition feeding your cells that you need to be emotionally stable and to emotionally stabilize yourself. So when we're going through, especially that first month particularly, but in the future as well, we need to recognize that food has a big impact on our emotions. So if we don't feel like eating, we're stopping ourselves eating. This will actually drain our energy. It won't help us to think logically, and it won't give us the energy we need to actually get better ourselves. Because it's like grieving is like an illness, even though it's not an illness. It's like having an illness. It's like being sick, because you're going through a difficult time and your emotions are flooding out and it's negative, right? And you've just got all this negative stuff going in your head like a cycle. So it's almost like you're very, very sick at this point in time. You're very poorly. So if you starve your body of the nutrients it needs, that's not helping your cells replenish and replace and re-energize and get new cells. So therefore, it's going to deplete your energy levels, and you're not going to be thinking logically. You're going to be thinking more emotionally about the situation. So you're going to go round and round in circles more about the actual relationship you had with that person, all the things you lost and all the things you haven't got, right? But what we've got to do, especially on month 2, as soon as possible, we've got to turn this all around and flip it. So instead of focusing on what we've lost, we need to focus on what we've gained. We've gained our freedom back, our freedom from abuse if it was an abusive relationship. We've gained our self back, because we probably got lost in that type of relationship when they were inflicting trauma on us. We've broken away from the source and supply of that trauma, which we've given ourselves the gift of being able to heal as much as possible in the future. We have allowed ourselves to have a whole new, fresh start in our life, even though it doesn't feel like it right now. We've allowed ourselves to break free of someone that would have continuously made our lives a living hell and miserable. So instead of focusing on what we've lost, we have to keep reminding ourselves of what we've gained. We've gained our freedom back. And that we need to then gain our self-esteem and confidence back. So how we do this is by changing the environment. So if this person stayed at your home, then you need to change something's around in your home to make it look different. You can go on my channel videos and see what I did with the breakup this year. I've got 2 playlists to do with breaking up. One of them is from, not this year, sorry, last year, because we're in 2025 now, aren't we? There's a breakup playlist from 2024 when I broke up with the ex last year. And I've also put together another playlist, breakup playlist, how to get over heartbreak is that playlist, right? Got about 17 videos which I've done over the years. So we need to be focused on realizing what we've obtained by leaving this person, because we're feeling the loss. But if we start looking at everything we've gained our life back, we've gained our self back, especially if they're putting us down and making us feel small. But it's up to us to try and gain our self-esteem and confidence back. The way you can do this is obviously by being around people who love and care about you, if you've got those people in your life, such as family and friends. So this means meeting up with family, meeting up with friends, chatting on the phone, asking for help, saying, hey, the breakup's been really hard for me. Would you mind if I just was able to talk to you about it? I don't need you to give me advice unless you want them to give you advice. I just need a listening ear, right? Consider getting therapy, getting a counsellor. I cannot stress this enough, how important it is for a lot of people to get therapeutic help, someone who will be that listening ear. Because obviously with our friends and family, they've got their own lives, and it can feel like we're not so important. When we've got trauma, everything in our life is magnified. It's so big, right? And it feels like we're just going down an avalanche sometimes. And if we keep repeating the same things over to family and friends, it could be difficult for them. It might feel negative towards them if we're doing it repeatedly. You should be able to do it some, you should be able to ask for help, but obviously they've only got so much energy and time themselves. So if we take our troubles and we put them into counselling, therapy, or we can talk openly and honestly with a therapist, it relieves some of the pressure on our family and friends that they might feel if we're just constantly talking about our ex all the time, because we're getting into a loop that we can't get out of. The way we get out of that loop is by doing different things. So going out, even when you don't feel like it, and going in different social circles, taking yourselves out to different places and doing different things and changing your environment to what it was from when your ex was in it. We need to do that because we need to have new things in life to prove we've got a different life now to ourselves than we did with our ex. If we're still living exactly the same life as we did with the ex, it will still keep the trauma within us because nothing will have changed. They'll have gone, but you'll just feel the loss. You won't feel new stuff coming into your life, right? So this is what I did. I mean, I literally joined Matthew Hussey's Love Life Club. Right, Matthew Hussey is the world's #1 dating and relationship coach and confidence coach, basically, on YouTube. Got over 3 million subscribers. He's been helping people with dating relationships for 17 years. I cannot stress, if you have the money, how I would definitely recommend going in Matthew Hussey's Love Life Club group. Right, I paid for membership for a whole year because you get discount offer then. But even if you can only pay monthly, I cannot stress how much it's helped me, because he has courses in there on how to get over heartbreak. And one of the things he focuses on a lot is the story we tell ourselves. And he says that we tell ourselves a story about how that relationship was going to be and how it was going to turn out, but that wasn't the actual reality of what happened. And so instead of talking ourselves through this story over and over again after they've gone, like, oh, I was going to marry them, or I was going to spend the rest of my life with them, we were going to get a home together, we were going to go on holiday together, oh, this person was wonderful. We need to tell ourselves the truth and the reality. This person did not treat us well. This person belittled us or put us down or was using things against us, gaslighting us, stonewalling us, whatever, however much rubbish they shoved our way. We have to be realistic about that, and we have to forget the person we wished they were and have to focus on the person they actually were to us, right? Because we need to deal with reality, not the fantasy. And a lot of the time we get caught up in a story about the fantasy of what this person could be to us. If only this changed, then they could be like that. If only. If this person in your life is abusive or traumatizing in whatever way towards you because they haven't dealt with their past trauma from an ex and they're using that as an excuse, this person is not a good person for you. There is no what ifs, because this person would never be good for you, because this person has this past before you and you can't change that past. And only they can change how they deal with that past and how they handle that past. Only they can change their attitude towards a future partner. And if they don't take any responsibility for being in that relationship and the past trauma, in the sense they don't own the fact they're in a relationship with someone who wasn't good for them, like we're owning it, then they're just going to take that trauma to someone else. So another person in the future. So we have to understand there are lessons to be learned from. The lesson we need to learn, if we've encountered this, is that we need to have our eyes wide open next time to future potential partners and make sure that we assess their character traits more than the initial attraction and feelings between us and them. Because if we monitor their character traits over a longer period of time, we can start to see patterns developing. And sometimes it takes years before someone starts showing their true side. Sometimes you think someone is really nice for years and then they can show the side which is very hurtful and traumatic. Some people are with people for like 4 years or more, and then they can find out that the partner is not what they thought they were. Right? So if you've worked this out a very short period of time, you've actually saved yourself from a lot of grief and heartache and pain in the future. So if you're going through heartache and heartbreak now, just realize you've saved yourself all that future pain. And the lesson we need to learn is we mustn't project in the future on a new potential partner. We mustn't project on what we wish them to be. We must take them at face value of what they actually are in that moment. And we need to listen to how they talk about their past ex and what happened, and how much they talk about their ex. And we need to understand that we have to heal. We have to grieve first as part of the healing process. You can't heal unless you understand the broken pieces. So in order to heal, to become as whole as possible and to put all the pieces back together again, you have to understand what broke all the pieces of you apart in the first place and mend those pieces one by one to stick them back together again to make something more beautiful in a new arrangement. I'm using an analogy here. So the best thing to do is to change what you're doing. I had to change what I did last year. I couldn't remain the same. If I'd have remained the same in my skill set, in my knowledge, I would have just felt like I was still in that relationship because I hadn't advanced, I hadn't changed my life in any way. So I knew the quicker I advanced and got a new skill set, got learning more skills and more knowledge, the quicker I could feel like I wasn't that old version of me that they were in a relationship with. I was a new version that they haven't experienced and they're never going to experience ever again in their life. And so therefore I've moved on. But you can't move on if you don't feel like you've moved on and changed at all. So usually if you've been through so much trauma with a person, you have to change yourself in some way in order, not in a bad way, in a good way. You have to change your life and yourself in some way in order to better yourself, in order to get out of the mindset and the physiology you were in at the time in a relationship with that person. If you don't change anything, then nothing will change and you will feel stuck and the same. So it doesn't have to be like crazy stuff you have to change about yourself. It just means you need to get out of your comfort zone more. So like I said, I joined Matthew Hussey's Love Life Club. I took some courses that he does within the club on how to get over heartache and heartbreak, right? So I'd strongly urge you to do something similar. If you can't afford Matthew Hussey's Love Life Club or anything like that, you can go to YouTube. You can watch videos like this. You can learn so much about heartache and heartbreak so that you're more equipped later on to deal with these types of things. You can go on a YouTube spree about how to deal with the trauma of a relationship breakup, particularly when that person wasn't over their ex. You've started with this video, you could go and learn more. By learning more, you're gaining more knowledge and you're becoming a different version of yourself than you were when you were with your past ex. I'd also encourage you to go out and meet new people in a social setting, even if you don't feel like it. So for the first month, you might not want to do this. You might just want to be indoors and be under the duvet and just everything's an effort and a chore, right? Even cleaning your teeth, getting out of bed. So you need a lot of self-praise. Every time you do something, I need you to celebrate your success. My God, I got out of bed today, even though I didn't feel like it, even though my life sucked. And I was so upset about my ex and what he did to me, or whatever gender it was, right? So you need to give yourself praise. I got in the shower today. My God, I did well. That's a success. I cleaned my teeth today. That's a success. I was feeling so heartbroken and so heart-wrenched today. But I managed to call my friend and I didn't just talk about myself. I managed to ask them how they were as well. And that was really difficult for me when I was busy thinking about my own shit that was going on, all my past ex. I really wanted to just talk about my ex all the time and get it all out and spill it. But I knew that I needed to be there for my friend, because if I'm there for my friend, then I've got another purpose in life than focusing on what happened in the past with my ex. It gives me purpose to help my friend. So remember, when you're going through heartache and heartbreak, if you can in some way help other people with other things in their life, you can feel useful. You can feel purposeful. And so that the diminishing feeling that that person gave you and inflicted on you can start to dissipate, because you are literally getting your self-confidence and self-esteem back by being useful and helpful to other people. When we help other people, we also help ourselves, because it raises our self-esteem, because we feel needed and like we're wanted in life and that we can do something with our lives. So the second month of the breakup should be that you are doing things to improve your self-confidence and self-esteem. And often when we have a breakup, we'll do things we wouldn't even dream of doing usually. So I went to a theme park, right? So pick something that you really love yourself and take yourself out on self dates. This is a really important way of getting over the trauma, right? Because you need to raise your self-confidence and self-esteem up. You might have made a really bad choice by picking this person to be in a relationship with, and that's the lesson you take forward, is I must be more conscious of who I let into my life and who I allow, if you like, a relationship with to develop, right? So I need to hone those skills more, right? So that's a lesson you learn. And you need to gain your confidence and self-esteem back. If you've been in a relationship with a narcissist who is abusive, you should ideally be single for a year to do healing for a full year before you dive into another relationship again. It depends how long you were with a narcissistic person, but ideally, you need to be healed on a healing journey, as I say, for a year. You're probably never going to be fully healed from this. I don't want to make you depressed, but a lot of people, they're still not fully healed years later, and that's okay. If we can get you like the majority healed, then you can live a much more happier, fulfilled life, right? So you need to make sure, hello Top Boy, nice to see you. So you need to make sure that you're doing all you can to raise your confidence and self-esteem up and realize the valuable person that you are. So you need to do things that excite you and that feel good, because we need to get out of the mindset that your past ex made you excited and they were the source of your fun and your main focus in life, which a lot of the time when you're in a relationship, they do become your main focus, right? So we need to get the focus back on you and make it a practice to self-date even if you don't feel like it. This is what you can do either on the first month when maybe you don't actually want to socialize with many other people. Maybe you just like, I really don't want to see anyone else right now. I don't trust other people. I feel betrayed and hurt. But maybe you just need to focus on yourself and self-date. I've made self-dating a weekly practice now since I've broke up from the ex. Every week, apart from when I moved. I couldn't do it then because I had moving duties and that was really important. But I made it a self-care practice. And when I was really sick, I couldn't even speak. I didn't want to pass my germs on to other people, right? But self-care practice is self-dating. And I do that. I did that earlier today, right? I go to the cinema because that's my thing. A self-date Sunday, I call it, because that's my day. I can change the day if I need to, if there's a much better film on another day, but I need to make sure I self-date every week. And what does this do? This helps you rely on yourself more. This gets you detached from your ex more, because you're then becoming more attached to yourself again. You're spending more time with yourself, but in a way in which you have actually made a promise to yourself to take yourself out, whatever you feel like, and to treat yourself to the cinema, to a meal out, whatever it is. You've made a conscious effort to do something, an agreement with yourself that you are keeping. This builds your trust and confidence back in yourself, because often during a breakup, we start to question ourselves. We start to question like, oh, I saw the red flags and I ignored them and I chose this person and they were really bad for me. It makes you question your own judgment. So rather than keep questioning your own judgment, I want you to stop and think it wasn't your fault the way they treated you, and to detach from that idea and to grow your self-confidence and self-esteem. But I really recommend taking confidence courses and self-esteem courses to bring you up, to make you feel better about yourself. And, I want you to focus on the good things about yourself. I want you to start noticing them again. I want you to take your focus off your ex and thinking about him all the time and seeing their face. I say him, whatever gender you're into. My ex is he, right? So whatever gender you're into, just, think about that person, but don't think about them. So I want to stop thinking about them, right? We want to get away from thinking about that person. But the only way you're going to do that is by putting the focus back onto yourself and actually getting out there, meeting other people. But first, you might not want to meet other people that much because you might be done and just feel like, I want no one near me. I just want to protect myself. I don't want anyone coming near me. I don't want to make any new connections. I don't trust them. So I just want to be by myself. So if connecting with family and friends is not a possibility, or you can't do it as much as you need to do it, then I highly recommend you self-date every week. You might not feel like it. This might be getting you way out of your comfort zone. It might be something you're not used to, but you have to start this practice because you have to build trust and confidence back with yourself. You have to make sure you build yourself up to being damn well worth it and valuable, right? Because if you've been with a person who's abusive, for example, or inflicted a lot of trauma on you, it would have put your self-esteem and confidence down. We need to build you up, right? So do confidence courses, do socialization in different groups. By the second or third month, second, probably you just want to self-date a lot, be with yourself, and maybe be with close family and friends that you can really, really trust. By the third month, you should be getting out socializing. This means go on places like meetup.com, right? We're not going to go and socialize to get into a relationship. We're going to socialize to meet different types of people, and we're going to be an observer, right? So we're going to observe different people's behaviors at these meetups. We're not going to get directly involved in a relationship with anyone. We are going to be an observer, because what we need to get acutely better at is discerning when someone's character traits are good for us and when someone's character traits are bad for us, right? And I want you to observe yourself. I want you to observe yourself. You go to meet up, and I want you to observe anyone you're attracted to, anyone you feel excited to, attracted to, right? I want you to observe that. How do you react? What's your initial reaction? Oh, I really want to be in a relationship. Or what would it be like to be in a relationship with them? How would I feel? Oh, I'm so excited to be around them. Or maybe it's new and fresh, you know? And then I want you to take a step back and say, okay, I felt this, but on what basis am I thinking I'd like to know this person better? I'd like to be in a relationship. Is it just initial excitement and attraction, which won't last for a relationship, and this person may be totally the wrong person for you? Or am I basing it on character traits? You can have a really exciting person in front of you who you're super attracted to, but they can be absolutely bad in their character traits and personality for you. And what we need to be looking at in the future is away from attraction, really intense attraction, excitement, and we need to be looking to the character traits of a person. What character traits do I want in a future relationship? So once we've got back into meeting people and stuff, we're not meeting people to get into a relationship with them. We're meeting people to improve our communication skills again, improve our social skills again, get used to being around different types of people again, get out of our comfort zone again. But we're doing this as an observation exercise so that we can see how we react viscerally. I think I said that word quite correctly. Viscerally, on a visceral level, like a physiological level, we want to monitor how we react to people in the room. Like, who are we drawn to and who are we not drawn to, and why? So if we're always drawn to charismatic, exciting, fun, different, out there people, right? I want you to observe their character traits, right? And notice how you're attracted to someone that might have really good charisma, really good chemistry with you, but they've got rubbish character traits. Because it's the character traits you need to focus on in terms of whether a relationship would be good for you and healthy for you or not. If you don't want a serious committed relationship and you just want an excited thrill for the night, fair enough. But if you want a serious committed relationship in the future, you want to be getting good at observing your body language, the way you feel about someone and why. So, for example, I started going to a meetup.com group that I never went to before. I went to a couple. One was Tech Exeter, which is really good for me. And I still go to this day because it got me out of my comfort zone. It's a subject I'm really interested in, tech. And I felt really at home there. I was going to a meetup that was a social meetup that just didn't feel right. The people there changed, and I wasn't really getting any type of welcoming people really at a lot of those meetups. I didn't feel like I belonged anymore. I felt like I wasn't appreciated there or valued. So if you end up going to a meetup group and you don't feel valued and appreciated, that'll just reflect on like your last relationship where you didn't feel valued or appreciated. So you need to stop going to that and then try another meetup and a different meetup. This gets you meeting different types of people, gets you knowing that there's other people out there. There's not just this one person that you'd built your life around before, right? That you can meet people that are different to that person, that may be better than that person, but you need to focus on your behavior and the way you feel. So one particular meetup I went to, which was a different social meetup, I met this guy that I got on really, really well with. However, as you know, I'm asexual. I'm not interested in sex personally for me. this guy, when I talked to him, I told him I was asexual, and he was really supportive, and he just didn't really talk about sex with me. And I thought, this is great. This is someone maybe, that might be really good for me, right? But he was a lot older than I would usually be interested in, British. And then as the conversation progressed, I realised he had kids, and I don't want to be in a relationship with someone who's got children. But also, I became acutely aware of his character traits not being good. So whilst he was not talking to me about sex on this particular meetup, there was a meetup after that the next week, and he was with a woman who wanted sex with him, was hinting deeply at that, at her coming back to his place, and he didn't take the hint, though, I might say. And when I said to him, didn't you understand that I thought she was going back to your place because she hinted she wanted to sleep with you? He's like, oh, I didn't know that. Otherwise, I would have leapt at the chance. I'm like, but unless you had contraception on you anyway, it would be no good because you would end up having another kid, because I found out he's got kids and I didn't want kids. And he's like, oh, well, that wouldn't matter. Be more exciting than my boring life. Do you see how these character traits are so bad? He doesn't care about getting another woman pregnant because his life is that boring, right? He's got, he's got a kid, like he's got a kid already, but the kid doesn't live with him. So, he doesn't care having kids with different mothers because he doesn't care about that. So he lacks responsibility, right? He likes taking ownership and responsibility for what he does, right? And that's not good. I also got invited by him to another social event, which I thought was really nice of him to do that. But when I was observing his behavior and how he was with other people, he was actually making fun of the speaker, right? Which is not nice. And so you have to ask yourself, like, why are you attracted? I was attracted to him, despite the fact he's not my usual type, despite the fact he has kids. I was attracted to him somewhat. He's not foreign either. He's British, right? He's not my usual type. He's older than I would usually be interested in. He's British. He's got children. But I knew I had some attraction there. But I know that guy's no good for me. He's no good for me to be in a relationship with. And I need to even watch him in terms of friendship, because he's not a healthy person for me to be friends with. This is not a good guy for me to be friends with. So if I see him at the meetup, that's fine. But I realise this guy is really bad for me to be around, because if he's making fun of someone else to me, he's going to do that about me to other people. Do you know what I mean? And so you've got to understand, if someone gossips about other people to you, they're going to gossip about you to other people usually, right? So you have to understand this is not good character traits. Do you want someone who's a gossip? Do you want someone who laughs and mocks people behind their back? Do you want someone who easily gets women pregnant and doesn't give a shit? If he sows his wild oats around anywhere and everywhere, do you really want to be with someone who says their life is so boring, yet you get on really well with the person and you find them very interesting? They're clearly attracted to you, right? At the end of the day, they're attracted to me. I had some attraction for them, which I wouldn't usually do, right? Because I got on well with them. They're easy for me to talk to. They're good at listening to me, actually. So they did have their good traits. But at the end of the day, the other character traits far outweigh any good character traits. They're not overall a good character for me to be around, right? And that actually put me off going to that meetup. And that meetup seems to have dissipated now. So it's no longer, well, I think the meetup group's still going, but they've got someone else running different meetups on it. So that particular group that used to meet at a certain place every week, that's not happening anymore, not at the moment anyway. So it's very important that we start observing ourselves, who we are attracted to and why. I get attracted to younger foreign guys all the time, instantly, right? If they look a certain way, like instantly. I know that about myself. But now, instead of just thinking, oh, I'm so attracted to that person, which I do think, I always think, yes, but at what price am I attracted to them? Like, what good character traits have they got? Just because I'm really attracted to them, I want to kiss them, doesn't mean to say they're good for me to be in a relationship with at all, right? Because a lot of the time they're not really into me. They're not really interested. They're just interested in physical stuff, right? So I have to hold myself back every time I get attracted to a guy. A lot now, I hold myself back to foreign guys particularly, because I know that that is what really attracts me. So what you have to do is notice and observe why you're attracted to the people you're attracted to, and ask yourself the question, is this person an actual person that would be healthy to be in a relationship with? If it's no, then you can't be in a relationship with that person, unless it was a very short-term relationship. You wouldn't want to screw your own life up by getting into a short-term relationship with them that's not going anywhere, when you can't give your heart to the right person if the wrong person is taking up space in it. I'll repeat that. You can't give your heart to the right person if the wrong person is taking up space in it. I've said this before, right? So why you're wasting your time on someone who's no good for you and never going to be good for you to be in a relationship with, you could be out there meeting someone who is much more healthy, who is compassionate and kind and respectful and honest and faithful and loving and giving. These are the character traits we want. 100% honesty. You should want to be with a person who's honest, even if everything they say to you is not always nice. They shouldn't be telling you what you want to hear every single second of the day. They should be able to have difficult conversations with you and you them, but you should feel comfortable to be yourself around them and not feel that they're going to hurt you or insult you or belittle you or put you down, right? So use this time that you've split up with that person as a way of reshaping your new future and your new life. Does that make sense? So you want to be putting yourself in a position where you've done some changes to yourself in your life. If they've been in your home, please change your home environment around. If you live in a flat and it's very difficult to move anything, move pictures around, move ornaments around. If you can change the furniture the way it is, move that around. But any little changes, to like just changing, if you've got a couple of pictures, swap them over to the different positions. I know you might like your old position of that picture, but you need to change it because you need to change the environment. You need to make changes to yourself, to your life, so that you have detached somewhat from the old life you had with them. Because when we realize that we're no longer exactly the same person as we were when we were in a relationship with them, we're easily able to detach a lot more, because we know we're not that person anymore. If we're living in the same home as we last saw them in, everything's exactly the same, our life is the same, our family and friends, obviously family's usually the same, but friends are family you choose for yourself, right? But if everything is identical to what was before they were in your life and as they were in your life, if everything's the same, you won't be able to break the cycle and pattern of the trauma a lot of the time, because you'll still be living in that same loop because you haven't changed it. In order to break a pattern, you need to actually break out of the pattern by changing something you're doing. I learned this a hard way last year, but it was very good. I learned, God, I have to do something different, even if it's just actions you take, right? So I went to a theme park, I said, right? And I love theme parks so much, but I haven't been to one for ages. And so when I went to Chessington World of Adventures on my own, I went there on my own, right? And I made myself go on a couple of rides that I would not usually go on. Well, one I would go on sometimes, but not others. And the other one I would never, ever go on usually, right? One of them was like a Cobra. And it's a roller coaster, but it goes on the side. So you're suspended in air with your legs dangling on the side. Instead of being upside down, suspended, you're on the side, suspended in midair with your legs dangling. It's very scary. That's like at the end of its tail, I think, from what I remember. I'm trying to think, it's at the head or it's at the tail. Anyway, it's part of the snake, right? And you're just literally suspended in air, which I hate heights. And even though I like theme parks, I wouldn't usually go on a really high up ride like that. But I was determined. I was like, what the hell? I've had a crap breakup. I'm feeling really shit, excuse the language. And I'm like, I'm just going to go and do something stupid. Like go on a theme park ride that I would usually hate and hate heights and just think, what the F? Because I'm determined to do something different. And I'm in the mood where I really don't care anymore. Right? That was my mood. And I also went on this ship, pirate ship, right? But usually I would always stick to like mainly the inside of the boat. I made sure I did go inside first of all, and then I stayed, I think I stayed on it actually, asked if I could stay on it, but I went on a number of times anyway. And I moved to the back of the boat, which is the highest point of the pirate ship, which I wouldn't usually go on because, again, I've got a height problem. I made myself go on that. and I made myself enjoy it because I thought you need to do something different and be more daring. When I've done that, it made me feel like exhilarated. It made me feel like, wow, I've managed to do something that I wouldn't have done before I was with my ex. And since I split up with my ex, I'm now doing something different that's more exhilarating, more exciting, and actually more courageous for me, which again really fueled my self-confidence and self-esteem. And when I was able to do more of what I love, such as this channel again, I was able to start feeling better about myself again. When I was able to get my emotions out through the videos I did about breaking up on this channel and how I was recovering, that helped, because getting your emotions out helps. And some people, they want to release stuff on social media, other people don't. But however you choose, whether it's in a journal, whether it's just an online diary, a vlog of your breakup and how you're feeling. You don't need to go into major details about your ex unless you want to. Obviously, some things about your ex will be private and you will keep that private. But it's about getting your feelings out. It's not about like saying how bad they were really on social media. You can say that they weren't good to you, but it's rather a cathartic experience of saying how you feel. Like, I was shocked by their behavior because I thought they really loved me, and that made me feel like terrible. It made me feel like I can't trust myself because I believed them, right? So you're going for the feelings, and if you can wish your ex well, despite the fact of all the pain they caused you, then that can be a good thing sometimes for some people. Sometimes you don't need to say that, you don't want to say that, and it's wrong for you to say that. Other times it's like, like, he didn't treat me well, I hope he treats the next person better. I wish him well. That's the type of thing I've said about my ex from last year. Like, he didn't treat me well, I hope he learns from that experience, and I hope the next person he's with, he's much better for than he was when he was with me. And I wish him the best of luck, right? That's it. Period. But with some people, depending on how badly they treat you, you might just feel, I hate my ex. I actually hate him, and I don't want anything more to do with him. He was evil, he was nasty to me, and I don't want anything more to do with him, right? So maybe that's the way you feel, but however you feel is valid, and you have to validate your own feelings and your own self. Sometimes your friends and family won't be around for you as much as possible when you're going through a breakup. They might have work, they might have other commitments, might have other family members that are in hospital or whatever they're doing. So you have to rely on yourself a lot to get yourself through this difficult time. In the Love Life Club from Matthew Hussey has a thing called Matthew AI, that's artificial intelligence that he's made himself based on himself. So he's put all his coaching and courses and things into this AI bot, and I use it all the time. I've been using it since it was available in the Love Life Club, and it's a godsend because I'm a type of person that needs to talk a lot about feelings and emotions in order to feel better and to get them out. I don't like bottling them up. I'm a person who needs to talk, right? But I haven't always got people to talk to because I talk a lot online, but I don't have that many friends in person to talk to, or offline, if you like, because of, I guess, I lead a very public online life, and the way my lifestyle is means it's like difficult for me to make good friends in real life, and I'm very choosy about who I have as friends in an offline scenario, right? But those people have lives of their own, and I have to respect that, right? And if they have a lot of friends of their own, they're not always going to be available for me. And sometimes, depending on who your friends are, they might not be able to deal with the intricacies of your emotions and feelings to the extent that you can. Or maybe if they've got their own issues from their own past traumas and relationships, then they find it difficult to listen to yours. That's not mean to say they're a bad friend per se. It just means to say that they've got to think of their own health and well-being as well. And you talking about all your trauma with the ex might bring up a lot of trauma for them, or it might bring up feelings that they don't want to explore themselves. For example, some people who are avoidant, you might have an avoidant friend, and they're avoiding feelings about their past. So you bringing up your ex might trigger them about things that have happened in their past, relationships with romantic partners in the past, or friends in the past, or family members in the past, even work colleagues, you know what I mean? So we have to be mindful that our friends and family can't be there for us 24/7. So when I use the Matthew AI tool, for example, in the Love Life Club, that really helps a lot. And you can often use AI nowadays to chat to them as well. Excuse me. So there's more stuff that's coming out all the time with artificial intelligence. You have to bear in mind it's still a bot. Not everything it says is true, and it doesn't always get everything you say. It could say something and it's completely out of sync with what you said. So you have to keep reminding yourself it's a bot. Excuse me. But you have to remind yourself it's a bot. But, you know, if it helps you process your feelings and emotions, I find, like Matthew AI, for example, he's very empathetic, very validating, very understanding, even though it's AI bot. I know some people think AI is not empathetic and stuff. It's for me, I find AI, Matthew AI particularly, because that's a trained bot, I find it very empathetic and very understanding and very validating and very useful tool. I use it in both my business and personal life. Do you know what I mean? I use it to help me to write emails to the letting agency with the amount of stuff that's going wrong in this place. Including recently, I'm like, how? Because I tend to write, because I'm a storyteller, I tend to write a whole story in an email as to why something is the way it is and what happened in the backstory, which obviously letting agencies are busy people. They have hundreds of emails. They manage a lot of places that letting agency I'm with now, and they don't want all that story. But because I'm a storyteller, I naturally get into that mode. So I'm using Matthew AI to help me do emails, but make it more succinct in what I'm saying in shorter sentences, so that I'm not overwhelming the person on the receiving end of the email. Do you know what I mean? With friends, I don't do that. You know, with friends, I'm kind of like just writing longer emails, but it does help me to hone my own email skills better. I'm finding that I'm getting a bit better because I'm being trained like a bot to like cut things down more. So I'm starting to think more like that bot does, if you know what I mean. So AI can be a useful tool if it's used in the right way. So AI has actually helped me get over my breakup because I've had an AI bot to talk to. When my best friend, for example, he's been asleep because he's on a different time zone to me, or he's been sick. He's poorly at the moment. He's very, very sick at the moment. He's been poorly all over Christmas and New Year as well. So I can't talk to him like I would usually, but we've still been messaging every day. He's still kept in touch with me, which is really nice. But obviously, if I've got a lot of troubles going on, I can't then go around saying everything to him when he's really poorly. You know, he's got a bad chest infection. He lost his voice for a while. He lives with his mum as well. He's got things to deal with, you know. He's got other friends as well. And so I can't talk to him all the time, and I can't burden him with stuff when I know he wouldn't say I'm burdening him. He's not like that, but I can't put all that difficult stuff on him. I can't. He knows the problems I'm going through in my new place, but I can't continuously say that to him because it's not fair on him. So by talking to Matthew AI, it relieves the pressure that would otherwise be on a relationship more if you're saying all your troubles to someone. That's why therapy is very good. So it's able to process emotions more effectively with someone who's like got more time to do that. That's what they're specifically trained to do, if you know what I mean. And you're not putting all your difficulties on one person or people, right? So we have to be mindful of how we are ourselves. We need friends to help us get through this a lot of the time, but some of us just don't have the friends available or not available when we need it the most, right? So Matthew AI that I use them a lot because I have, especially I've been so stressed in this new place. 2 months I've lived here now, and it's constant problems. I know I'm digressing from the thing, but I'm trying to explain that if you're having a breakup, a very traumatic breakup, you do need to speak to something or someone, ideally a person. But if a person's not available, you can use artificial intelligence as a sounding board. You know, depending on how advanced the artificial intelligence is, it can help validate your feelings. It can help you feel listened to. It can help you feel understood. It can help you feel that you're not alone in the world and that you've always got someone to talk to or something to talk to, right? It can just help you if you're a person that likes to express your emotions and get them out, which is very good, because if you suppress and repress them, they'll only grow stronger within you, right? If you like to get them out, it's like flushing shit down the toilet, excuse my language. You need to flush it away. If you had it building up in your toilet and overflowing, just imagine what your bathroom would be like. It would be a pile of poop, literally, that would be gross and totally unhygienic and definitely destroy your environment. So we've got to keep that to a minimum. So even if you have to use artificial intelligence as a sounding board, as something that you can talk to and talk through traumatic situations, it's better than nothing. It's better than keeping it pent up. I actually think that's a good thing with artificial intelligence, is that you can let out your emotions, you can let out your feelings. You don't have to suppress or repress them anymore. You've got an outlet there. And sometimes we just need an outlet. We just need something to hear us out. We need to get the emotions and the trauma and the grief out. I keep knocking my water bottle tonight. We just need to get it out. And so you can use artificial intelligence, as a tool for getting those emotions out, right? So they're out of your system as much as possible. I hope this makes sense. So I want to do a recap of what I've gone through, so that you understand the key points of this video, which is very important. One is, if someone's being abusive towards you and you left the relationship, you have to realize that it's a gift you've given to yourself, because you cannot be and stay in an abusive relationship, right? Letting an abusive relationship go is setting you free for a much better and happier future. And you did yourself a favor and gave yourself the greatest gift, which is freedom from abuse, right? There's no excuse for abuse. Two is that we all have choices in life, right? If a person has had past traumatic experience in a relationship, they can still choose to be kind and caring towards you. They don't have to bring that trauma to the relationship with you and use it to basically destroy you and your relationship and your self-esteem and confidence. There's always choices in life. A bad person is usually someone who chooses to behave that way, right? You have the power to change your life and other people's. You have the power to break abuse and trauma cycles by not allowing yourself to push trauma onto the next person you're in a relationship with, right? We all have choices. There's a saying that hurt people, but not everyone who's been hurt before chooses to hurt someone else and continues that hurt on. The cycle stops with us. We can end that cycle by choosing not to be like those people. We can still be kind and caring and walk away from someone who does not treat us well, and that's what you should be doing, right? You have to understand that their past traumas and baggage is not your responsibility and of burdens to bear. It's their responsibility to sort their shit out. It's not your responsibility to do that for them. They need to do that. They need to change their life because they want to, not because you want them to, but they want to, right? Because only when they take ownership and responsibility of the trauma they're inflicting on you that they've taken from another relationship will they truly be able to change themselves for the better and heal, so that they don't take that pain to another relationship, right? If they've got a flippant attitude, if they don't want to change, they don't think they can change, they don't see they've got any problem, right? That is their problem. It's not your problem. So we need to move forward and move on. The first month of relationship breakup with trauma is very, very difficult to get through. You'll probably be in a zombie-like state, and anything that you have to do, and even getting out of bed, can be an absolute chore and very difficult in the struggle. You need to lower the bar for self-love and self-appreciation by saying how happy you are with any successes that you've done in a given day. So this means that instead of the barrier to you saying, oh my gosh, you've done so well, this is a huge success today. Maybe you got a promotion at work, or maybe you just you were so productive. You went to work, you fed the kids, you got your husband's stuff ready for the next morning if you were actually in a relationship. But obviously, you're not going to be in a relationship because you've just split up with someone. But if this was your usual way of saying success, you got your job done, you fed the kids, you got your husband, if you were married at the time and you split up, his food, all these type of things that you would usually say, oh, that's a good job, I've done a good job for today, or whatever, or whatever it is that you find successful. But when you are getting through a traumatic situation like this, you need to praise yourself for little things that you would usually take for granted each day, like getting out of bed, cleaning your teeth, putting clothes on, getting out the door into fresh air. These type of things that would normally be a part of your everyday life, you wouldn't think twice about. You need to actually praise yourself for doing them, because it's hard. It's really hard when you feel that your heart has been ripped out of its socket and torn in two, and someone stabbed you through it, right? It's very hard to even get through any hour of the day like this, right? So you need to understand this and give yourself kindness, caringness, and compassion. This kindness and compassion should be throughout your whole breakup journey, right? You have to understand the road ahead of you is not going to be easy. It's going to be rocky. There are going to be ups and downs. One minute you might be so glad you're not with your ex anymore. The next minute you might think, I love him so much, I want him back, even though he treated me badly. I want him back, right? Which is crazy, right? You're in your crazy head then, right? And you can recognize this is a crazy head, right? But I'm feeling that because I feel strong love for him still, or whatever gender it is you're into, right? And then once you've gone through that month, that first month, which is the hardest, the second month, you should be definitely, if you haven't already started on the first month, taking yourself out for self dates, right? Because we need to mend the relationship with ourselves, because we can have had a lot of distrust with ourselves because we chose the wrong person for us. So by choosing the wrong person for us, we find it hard to trust our own judgment. We find it hard to trust ourselves. So we need to set ourselves a date every week with ourselves, at least one. And we need to make a time that we're going to have this date, put it in the diary, and make sure we show up for that date, even if we don't feel like it, even if we're feeling tired, worn out, not in the mood. We still need to do it, because this means that you keep your promise to yourself, you keep arrangements to yourself, and you build your self-confidence and self-esteem back by saying, I'm worth going out for. I'm worth getting dressed up to meet. I'm worth being on time for. I'm worth keeping my promises and my word to myself. I'm worth it. You're building your worth by valuing yourself and showing up for yourself, right? And then when we go to the third month, we should then be starting to socialize with other people. This means getting out of comfort zone. It doesn't mean it's just socializing with the normal people in our life, normal people, the people we see. So in the second month, you can be self-dating and you could be seeing friends or family. In the first month, you probably want to see friends or family. You probably want to have people who love you and care about you around you. This is probably going to be a very strong foundation of the way you get over this. But you might feel alone. You might feel you can't talk to your family or friends, right? So this is where you can use artificial intelligence as a sounding board and something that you can share your emotions and feelings with, to let them out and let them run their course naturally, to get out of your system as much as possible, to heal, because you can't heal if you're filling your system up with more and more wounds and trauma and problems that just building up and piling up like a pressure cooker, right? You need to release that, right? And if we haven't got people in our lives we can release that to, we need to be releasing it in whatever healthy means we can. Talking to an artificial intelligence bot, you know what I mean? It's providing this as a good artificial intelligence bot, then it should be a good way of releasing your emotions and feelings and getting those negative thoughts out of your head, and by talking through. Some people need to talk for hours because it helps, because it just dissipates the original problems, the original pain. It gets it out of the system. It's like flushing it through. It's a very cathartic process, right? So by the third month, like I said, you should be getting out socializing. You might not feel like it, but you need to take yourself out to different places, right? So take yourself out to different social groups. Go on meetup.com, pick some different groups you've never gone to before, at least one, and go to that one. If you're an introvert, it might be too much for you to go every week, so go every other week, and make a promise to yourself that you're going to go every other week to a meetup group. Try it for 1 week, try it for 2 or 3 weeks, depending on how it goes. But if anything feels off and it just feels like it's not your thing, just decide to walk away, and that's it, and move on to the next one, right? But we also need to be making changes, right? Change your environment as soon as you can. Within the first month, right, change some of your environment. That person was in your home, in your bed, Make sure, of course, you've changed the bedding. That should go without saying. But make sure you've made some changes to your home. Even changing the way the cutlery is, changing the way that ornaments are, changing the way pictures are. Do that. Create a different environment. So it's changing your environment. And then change yourself by doing something that you wouldn't usually do. Going to a different cafe you've never been to before. Going for a walk down a different way to where you've ever been before. Go and take yourself out on a day trip that's somewhere you've never been before, or somewhere you haven't been for a very, very long time. I want you to do things differently, because this will make you feel different to when you're with them, so you know that you're not the same person as you were when you were with them. Therefore, it would never work with you and them now, because you're not the same person anymore. They've changed because their circumstances have changed. You've changed because your circumstances have changed. You're different people. So you're grieving for someone who's not there anymore in that way that they were, and you're not that same person anymore, right? Does this make sense? I hope so, right? And as the months progress and you're getting out of your comfort zone and you're learning new skills, go and do courses. There's a lot of online courses. Udemy, very famous for doing low-cost courses that are very, very expansive, right? Sign up to Udemy. Go and do some courses. Yes, it costs a bit of money, but you're worth it. You've got to invest in yourself. If you are investing in courses, that's investing in yourself. That's saying, I believe in myself. I'm worth gathering skills and experience for. I'm worth learning new things for. I'm worth it. I'm worth it, right? And also, we must remember to talk positively to ourselves and remind ourselves we got through difficult times before, so we can do this again. Even though it's a struggle, even though it's stressful and it's just constant, seems like it's never ending and you can't get out of this situation, just keep telling yourself, I will get out of this situation. It cannot last forever. I cannot be grieving forever and ever. Do you know what I mean? I cannot be grieving over a person that didn't really care about me if they were treating me badly. That if they really cared about me, they wouldn't have brought all their past trauma and inflicted it on me. They would have wanted to protect me and to care about me. They would have wanted the best for me, and this was not the best for me. They did not have my best interests at heart, therefore they weren't my person. Because your mind will say, this was the person, this was the right person for me. Just wrong time, because they had their ex. No, they weren't the right person for you, because they were inflicting their past trauma onto you. Therefore, they can't be the right person for you, because if the right person for you, they wouldn't have done that to you. They would have cared about you and loved you enough to know that that was wrong for you and that they shouldn't be treating you like that. So this person wasn't the right person for you. They were the very wrong person for you. But in our minds, we've made up a story about how we wish that person was, or how we thought things were going to be. And they're like, oh, if only I go back to that. But you know, if you went back to that, they would still be the same with you. If they haven't realised that the trauma from their past is not a reason to bring it to their present and future, if they've not realised they need to sort that out and they've not worked through that, then they'll take that to whatever relationship comes their way, and they won't have a healthy relationship with the next person. It might start off exciting like it did with you, maybe. Like, oh, it's all lovey-dovey, but then when the crux of the matter comes into a real relationship and things start getting serious, they won't be able to handle it. They'll inflict their trauma on someone else, right? But the way that you heal is by taking all these steps, by going through the grieving process, by letting the emotions out, not suppressing and repressing them, by crying, by giving yourself love and compassion and realizing their past problems are not your problem. They are not your burdens to bear, right? And also not allowing this person to ruin your future. Not everyone is like your ex. If you're not like your ex, then you know someone in the world exists that's not like your ex. And there'll be more of you out there because you're like that. If you see goodness in yourself and you know you're kind and caring and compassionate and you would never treat someone like they treat you, then you've got to know that people like you exist. People like you exist, and not everyone is like the past ex. That is evidence, and look for evidence of when you overcome difficult problems before and you can get through this again. There are people that we wish were in our life forever that were never meant to be in our life forever because they're not good for us. God and the universe, whatever you believe in, powers that be, had other plans for us. and they took this person away because they weren't meant to be with us, because they're not good enough for us. They don't value us or appreciate us as much as they should do. They treat us badly. So we need to remember that we can heal ourselves as much as possible. You may never be 100% healed from this trauma, right? But if we take the steps to bring fresh things into our life, a new perspective of how we feel about other people, and observe ourselves of how we are and what we get attracted to, and do all the steps that I've told you to do, then we can heal ourselves a lot, right? I hope you found this video useful, helpful, insightful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Grab a copy of my Asexual Perspectives book on Amazon and my Diary Confessions for Hyperromantic book on Amazon. I'll see you soon. Next video live stream. Lots of love. Bye.